I sent Chelsea the wrong correction script, so she printed up the one I sent her. It's not her fault. So that's why I have my computer. And I just think when you look back at the last few corrections, anyone worried that this is on cruise control, I mean, it's going worse than ever. Like, anybody that was feared that it would just sort of, get into a rut, going through the motions. I mean, yes, a rut, but not going through the motions. Like, the motions are different every week. It's pronounced cloaca, not cloaca. I don't think that's why the joke didn't work. I also think that the audience we had in the house that night probably didn't know what it was, no matter how I pronounced it. Now, of course, the corrections comments were loaded up with people. If you do open Apple F for cloaca this week, it's going to freeze your computer. That's how many people wrote it. And the reason the Jackals caught it, and again, is you're smarter than our regular audience. And that's what makes me so mad, because you don't use that intelligence to better the world. You just use it to worser my day. Someone wrote in, can't wait for Seth to have to go on corrections and say that ducks actually have 9-inch corkscrew penises. Well, your wait is over. We said that Donald Trump wants to be an MMA fighter so badly that he might suggest a face-off type situation, and accurately pointed out that wouldn't really solve the problem for him. He would just have a MMA fighter's face on a Donald Trump body, and I feel like it seems like faces have like the least to do with success in the octagon or whatever it is. D.C., we talked about how Washington, D.C. smelled in 1776. D.C. did not exist in 1776. It wasn't established until 1790. Before that, the capital was in Philadelphia, but then the Eagles won and the locals burned it to the ground. I remember my town, Bedford, New Hampshire, there's a sign it says EST and then the year. And I remember once I was in the back seat, my brother said, what does EST mean? And I go, that's when it's estimated that this town was formed. My dad was like, no, it's not estimated, it's when it was established. And I remember even as a kid being like, all right. They're sure. So we said that the reflecting pool was 1,618 meters. Somebody wrote in 1,618 meters is a mile. I know because the 1650 was my event, brag. And the reflecting pool is only 2,028 feet, which is 618 meters, or 3/8 of a mile. Obviously, we got that wrong. We could have Googled the distance. I got it right in a closer look, but NBC has asked that for all distance-related stuff, we use Old Jack. Old Jack's one of our crew members who's really confident about his ability to look at a photo of anything and tell you how long it is. And he always says he'll get it within 1,000 meters, which he technically did this time. But he's not. I don't even mind that he's wrong. He's just not pleasant to deal with. You'll be like, Old Jack, how long is this? And he's like, argh. He always covers one eye when he does it. But, NBC said, why can't we Google it? And they said, the tokens are too expensive. Jackals in recent week have told me that Mother Teresa was a terrible person and also that Gandhi was a terrible person. And, it made me think, you guys give me a hard time, maybe I'm not so bad. Also, a lot of people said Lorena Bobbitt, and we had told a Lorena Bobbitt joke. She was treated terribly. She was a victim. Agreed. I concur. Did you hear Lorena Bobbitt was in a car accident. Yeah. Apparently, some dick cut her off. All right. Let's address the elephant in the room. Last week's correction was mostly me trying to and failing to remember the previous week's guests. I own this. I confidently, in a previous corrections, asked Shoemaker, offered to Shoemaker that at any time he could yell out, name them, and I would have to name the guests. With that said, he me. He waited for a week where there were...
Say the names.
You really think I wouldn't have built a memory palace? You really think that's literally what the rest of this was this will never happen again? All right. First of all, we had 3 Broadway babies, a.k.a. Anna Gasteyer, Kerry Washington, Alden Ehrenreich. We had 3 Nicks, Carmelo Anthony, OG Anunoby, and Cat, Karl Anthony Towns. Ooh, the Knicks. You know what I do? I root for the Knicks. Stephen Root. OG Anunoby's tip-in was wild. Olivia Wilde. The Knicks went ham. What kind of ham? Chef Ham El Whaley. Caleb Heron, Kumail Nanjiani. Boom! I cannot believe you thought I wouldn't be ready for this week. Now, next week, now that I got it, I feel better about, now I'm just going to read comments about what people thought about last week's. 26-minute corrections. Oh, we are so back. ... Oh, never mind. I will say it's good that I didn't get it, because in my head, I was like, if I get this, I'm going to do the Denzel Washington speech from Training Day. And I probably remember that speech about as well as I remembered last week's guest. I've been like, King Kong doesn't have anything on me. I climb buildings better. Swat the planes. It did take me way too long to come up with Jenny Hagel, who works here. And I think everybody agrees, or I should say everybody breathed a sigh of relief when I got it. Because it would have been a thing. Somebody wrote, Trump isn't nodding off in meetings. He's also trying to remember Seth's guests. You should totally submit this one for the Emmys. I mean, the outcome won't change, but it's nice to know that they'd have to suffer through the same thing we just did. Sarah Jenks Daly left in the middle of corrections, and a lot of people in the comments, there was this, and by the way, it was, I didn't mean to call her out, but it was like right when I was getting the names, and it was a distraction. But I've noticed recently that people don't know, I think people know our staff very well, but they often in the comments spell their names differently than their names are actually spelled. So just for the future, if you want to know, this is how you spell Bays. This is how you spell Jenks. And this is how you spell Shoemaker. I don't watch corrections back. You know, like, unlike a lot of you, I don't have 26 minutes for that bull. But some people were like, I thought this was a bit that Seth was doing, but I don't think he's a good enough actor to sweat through his shirt. I cannot stress enough how uncomfortable last week was for me. I really, at one point, I wanted to tell Shoemaker to off, and I couldn't remember his name. It's never gonna happen again. Taking it really serious. I want to thank Bees McKeever, who sent in a late night anti-panic sweat stick called Chase That Emmy. And we're gonna take a summer hiatus, and just a reminder that we also miss doing the show, and we wish we could be here with you guys. We like this very much. I'm very happy. I got it right today, and I want to apologize to again the guests I missed last week. That whoever you are. No way of knowing. See me next month.